Dilip D'Souza is a senior journalist from Bombay, and also as a citizen who, just like us, who is concerned about what is going on in the country. I would like to ask Dilip, what made you join the Yatra, and what concerns? I mean, you are not part of a political party. You are a journalist, and you write about different issues and all. So, what made you join Bharat Jodo Yatra, which is actually led by Congress, and you are not part of the party or anything, but as a journalist and as a citizen you joined. Could you please elaborate on that?
Thank you, Bandhu. It's a good question because I think a lot of people like me face that question, and they must have found their own answers. As you said, I am a journalist and a writer, so at one level, my antennae went up. This is something that I thought, journalists should be covering, because it is an event that has not been seen in this country before, at least not in my lifetime. So that was one part of it. I really wanted to see what was going on and write about it if necessary. But it was also, and I realized this also more and more as I joined the Yatra, deeply personal, because for years now, I'm not talking about just from 2014, but maybe going back to 1992 and all this, there's been a political shift in this country and a social shift, and a lot of it feels very personal to me, with the name I have, and with even though I don't profess any religion, I feel sometimes definitely threatened by what's going on in this country. And it's just things that I'm deeply dissatisfied and disappointed by. I grew up with a certain set of music to India, and I feel like those are all being eroded as over the last 20, 30 years. So, there must be many people like me who are wondering, what can we do about this? And I don't really have answers, beyond doing my little writing, and maybe nobody reads that, and things just keep getting worse. So this felt like something I could do finally. It was something that I could at least make a statement. I could at least feel like I'm going out there, putting myself on the line for whatever it's worth, and making some small difference. This is the first time I felt like I was doing that. And that was so important to me that I felt I didn't think I could join the whole journey because of various personal reasons, but I felt like I could join it whenever I could. And so that's why I started joining in Karnataka, then later on 3 other places. And I wish I could have done longer stints, but that's okay. At least I did that much, and it meant a whole lot to me.
Thank you. Was it like did you feel like this is a mass movement, some kind of a people's movement that I should be part of as a citizen, if I'm...
Absolutely. It was, I've participated in a number of different protests and movements. I was involved with the Narmada Bachao Andolan, and I've been to the Narmada Valley, and so, yes, but this was on a different scale, and not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of the idea of it, the fact that the party and all the people involved were looking at something that was pan-India. They were consciously reaching out to people, not just party people, but consciously reaching out and hoping that people would join, and people did join, from all over the political spectrum, and and forget the political spectrum, all kinds of people joined, artists and writers and farmers and nondescript people. I was walking at one point, and there's this little kid who was walking with me, maybe 15 years old or so, and we just got talking, and he'd been walking the whole day, so I thought he was somebody's son. No, he had just joined when the Yatra went through his village in the morning, and he just kept walking. So we were walking for, he must have been about 30-40 kilometers from his village by the time he decided to go back. I don't know how he went back, but there were people like that. Why did somebody like that join the yatra? You know, so it shows that it meant something to a lot of people.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you
I just wanted to add to that. I think it was a moving festival of sorts, and exactly like Dilipji was describing, while mobilization was one part of it, that from our side we tried to publicize the schedule that in Kerala this will be the route and this is where you can join, but majority of the people who really joined in, it was organic, it was happening spontaneously. There were people from across age group, from all walks of life. In fact, it wasn't just that somebody in Telangana, like it's very easy if Yatra is passing through here and you live here, you just join. But what we saw was that people from Telangana, they couldn't join, so they would go to a different state. People from Kerala, walking in another state. So they were making that kind of effort. And a lot of people, of course, a lot of people were coming to meet Mr. Rahul Gandhi and talk to him. But some people were just joining in and they said, we just want to be a part of this movement. So it gave them this outlet, as Dilipji said, to really do something.
Yeah. See, from Dilip's words or from so many accounts that we have heard from different parts of the country, people join organically, or organizations, civil society movements joined organically at many phases. But would you like to, as an insight, who was part of the organizing team of the Yatra, would you like to say about how, of course, organic involvement was there or participation was there, but what went into the planning of, and planning and ideation of bringing different organizations and people together to this, Yatra, or the causes of Yatra, or what the Yatra stands for. So how did you reach out to people, or what was the process of, making sure that this is a, inclusive one, anyone, we are not excluding anyone, like, even with people or organizations with political indifference, everyone was welcome if I heard from it. So what thoughts went into that and how it was planned and implemented to make it inclusive?
So actually there was a lot of preparation. Almost a month before the yatra, or a month and a half before the yatra entered each state, some of us were deputed in Kerala, for instance. Vishnunath is a Congress leader here. In Karnataka, Senthil and Priyank Kharge. In Madhya Pradesh, Meenakshi Natarajan and Shobha Hausa. Similarly in Maharashtra, I, along with a couple of others, Utkarsha and others, were asked to actually tour the entire state, reach out to as many districts as possible and convene meetings with civil society organizations and any progressive group that is basically doing something on the ground to further constitutional values. So we were asked to actually interface with them, tell them that, see, this yatra is going to be coming, this is the route, and we would like you to join, not just to join the yatra to swell the numbers, but also to raise your issues with the Congress leadership, not just Rahul Gandhi, but multiple other rungs of leaders. Now this entire planning and process was entirely executed by the Congress party leadership at every level. So in a sense, it's very interesting because I have worked very closely with the party and of course the India parties, and I know for a fact that this kind of political entrepreneurship, this training that was given was very crucial, because suddenly you have at every level people actually, this entire structure that was erected, for instance here, I'm sure you must have had a team which is doing that. In many states, the Congress party leaders actually sat down in the night, set up structures with people, the security was planned like that, people were actually invited in. I know in Maharashtra, we were anticipating, because Maharashtra entirely we were involved in, we were anticipating about 10-12,000 civil society organizations, people would join. Almost 45-50,000 people turned up, and it just kept swelling. So the point is, imagine on the day you are having to increase your numbers threefold, fourfold. You have to make arrangements for their water, for their toilets, everything. Everything was done through the party. Of course, some civil society leaders, most notably Yogendra Yadav, throughout the country actually, but many others were tasked to be the formal interface with civil society organizations and non-political forces. So it was a fairly decentralized process of involving people from outside, and that's how it basically rolled out.
Ruchira, from his words, I understand that leaders and leaders from different levels of the party went back to people, right? From organizing this to executing this, implementing and making sure that ensure the participation. I think leaders went back to do you have any, interesting anecdotes of, how, leaders from different levels, how they reconnected with the people, and how was that learning process for the leader or for workers? I mean, not just, let's not use the word leaders, like political workers. How engaging and how educating, how reinventing that process was for them.
One of the main things that came from the Yatra was, Yatra as a platform for policy making and deliberations. So a lot of our policies, what we, for instance, let's say promised in our 2024 manifesto, or some of the policies which were being implemented by our governments, Congress governments in various states, that came from the interactions and the learnings of the Yatra. So what was happening was that a lot of people, again, across age groups, across communities, from all walks of life, they would come to Rahulji and they would, share their issues with him. And then those issues, then we would, have a larger group to discuss what the issues are, and then at the same time identify possible policy solutions. So for instance, one of the examples which is the gig workers law, which was a manifesto promise in our 2024 General Elections Congress manifesto. It's also a law which was passed by the Congress government in Rajasthan, and I think it's one of the only laws in the world which provides for social security for gig workers. So how that came about again was through gig workers, interacting with Mr. Gandhi across states. They would come to him and they would talk about their issues, and then from that the learnings came and a policy solution came. So many other things. In the Congress government in Rajasthan also increased the health cover. So that was again one of the issues which was highlighted during the interactions. So I think this is one of the big things which came from the Yatra. It became a space for and an opportunity for deliberations, for consultative policy making.
Sorry, no, I actually wanted to just pick up from where Ruchira said. I remember in actually 3 or more states, different interactions. It's very interesting actually, because these kind of conversations, certainly they don't happen with the government, either the state level or the union level. But the fact that Dalit and OBC subgroups, caste, subcaste and others, were demanding for an enhanced and equitable share of power, as well as benefits accruing from social justice, India's social justice paradigm. That became the genesis for the caste census and the Samvidhan Bachao program. So the entire Congress party, and in a sense the India party's negotiation, I remember distinctly in Bombay and then in Bangalore, when India parties were actually negotiating on what our common minimum agenda would be. Of course, it never came about. But caste census was something that Mr. Gandhi, Kharge and others strongly advocated as a demand that was common throughout India. Many people are genuinely feeling disenfranchised, and the Patel subgroups in Gujarat, the Marathas in this thing, the Kapus in Andhra, they're all demanding for, we still see, because of the failures of the last 10 years, the state is seen as the sure-shot model of economic and social upliftment, mobility. So they see that, boss, we really need to tap into this social justice paradigm. And the caste census was one of the solutions. I'm not saying that is the only solution, but it certainly picked up from what people were saying across the country. and this is one of the things that shaped the Congress party's agenda going into 24.
Just to add to it, I think it's what came from it, the idea of deliberation and policy making, being with the people, learning from them. It has also continued. It didn't just end with the Bharat Jodo Yatra. It carried on with the second Bharat Jodo Yatra, the Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra, which went on to again shape the manifesto in a big way. And in that sense, that idea continues. Mr. Gandhi and other leaders also, they continue to hold interactions with people across sections to really understand their issues and find possible solutions, because ultimately democracy is about people, right? So yeah.
Please. I was
There's a, I mean, I don't know if it's a context, but something that I was very encouraged by, and it's also, as I told you, as I admired about this book, the climate in this yatra that I found was that people were willing to talk about things openly to the extent that they were disagreeing too, and that's the spirit that I think brings out equitable, proper policies for a country. When you're able to have people who disagree, fundamentally maybe, but who are able to come together and find common ground. I think that, and that's what when you talk about the caste census or different policies that came out of this yatra and that were then part of the manifesto, it came fundamentally out of the spirit of let's come together and discuss things that are common to us despite our differences. I think that was. It was fundamentally part of the yatra, and that's why I think it really had an impact on somebody like me.
Yeah, and as a journalist and as a citizen and as a political observer, what change you think you could see and sense after the Bharat Jodo Yatra in the whole political scenario? Do you think that it kind of course, the India alliance, but at the same time, do you think that the yatra actually the desired political, the unification that the yatra desired for? As a political observer, what's your take on that?
You can answer that at various different levels. One level that occurs to me is that, I mean, honestly, before this yatra happened, I never thought I'd come to, in my lifetime, there would be an alliance which brought together the Samajwadi Party, the Shiv Sena, and the Congress, and many other constituents of the India alliance. India. But here, that's what happened, and I think that came out of the spirit of the yatra. That the people, political forces certainly came together, saying that, how are we going to defeat this juggernaut of the BJP? How are we going to stand up to it? And the only way to do it is to come together and find common ground. And ironically, that the historic precedent for that is the Congress's own emergency, when the parties opposed to it came together to defeat Indira and the Congress in 1977. So, I mean, there is that irony, but that's also a history that we should remember in this country. So I think, so that's one level, that the political parties came together to form this alliance. But also the fact that all these civil society groups that we've been talking about, who, I mean, you mentioned Yogendra Yadav, who's known in the past as a critic of famously known as a critic of the Congress, but there he is. He realizes, and many other groups also realize, that this is our vehicle to stand up to what's going on in this country, and that made a difference. And I think, I honestly didn't think, I hoped, but I didn't think that the BJP would be utterly defeated in the Lok Sabha election. But I did think that the Congress and the alliance would win somewhere close to 200 seats at least, and that's what happened. And at least the party may not have, the alliance may not have come to power, but at least now we have a strong vocal opposition, which I think we did not have before. So I think Ravish Kumar said it best: India elected an opposition in those general elections, and that has something to do with the yatra.
No, I just wanted to add to this. See, Kerala is perhaps a different state altogether. The consciousness of Kerala is very different from the north, at least north of Vindhyas. But before the yatra, I know this for a fact that there was a tremendous sense of loneliness. That what I am doing, all of us are here, at some level we feel that what is happening today is not right. You know, this deep churning about who we are as a nation, how we are going to be, where we are heading and how we are going to be actualizing that. We fundamentally disagree with something or the other, right? And this sense of this isolation was very profound. What the yatra primarily did in terms of shifting mass consciousness is that it gave people the hope that you're not alone. And the fact that lakhs of people came out, as Dilip ji was saying, they came out because they felt they needed to do something. You know, it evoked a sense of patriotic spirit that I want to do something for India. I want to save my, this liberal, secular, democratic ethos. I want to step out. And that yatra created a sense of fraternity, bandhutva. And this is something very important because we don't recognize, perhaps as I said in Kerala it's a different situation, but we don't understand the sense of isolation politically as well as societally that is there in north of India. It's very different, that's one thing. And the second thing is politically, please understand that the Congress party has in a sense unlearned some of the hubris that has set in. We need to recognize that the Congress has in the last, we were discussing this earlier in the day, the Congress became a political system exclusively devoted to the conduct and winning of elections. And it relied on the state. After a very long time, almost 75 years, 80 years, it has rechanged itself into a movement, a people's movement. And that is something is politically and organizationally, that is a fundamental shift that has happened. Finally, as you started, it has gone back to the people. I'm not saying that it has reached where it should be, but it has made that first step. And this wouldn't have happened without Rahul Gandhi. He literally, I know for a fact, she's being, perhaps as a party person, she can't say this, but in Udaipur, there was a lot of resistance also to this idea. Will we be able to do it? Will people come out? No, perhaps we should just do a small motorized yatra. It was him saying that absolutely not, we have to do it. If people come, well and good. If they don't, I'll walk alone. To take that it takes a lot of guts to say that I'm going to risk my life and this thing for some nebulous idea of India. And he's done it. And frankly speaking, we are for the better. The catchment area of progressive before the yatra and now has swelled almost tenfold. I know this. I know for a fact that thousands, lakhs of people are now coming out of the woodwork saying that I want to do this, I want to make films, I want to write books. He's written a book. No one asked him to write a book on the Bharat Jodo Yatra, the Congress party. So many such initiatives have now been sparked because of this hope that you've given.
I think Dilip would like to add on that point of that sense of loneliness and isolation, that political isolation that...
Absolutely. I touched on it earlier. I think I never thought of it as loneliness, but it describes it so well. I sit in my flat in Bombay at home and wonder what the is going on and what can I do about it. And I'm honestly so tired of just pointing fingers and blaming people and so on. And finally, I want to know what can I do. And my wanting to join the yatra came out of that deep, deep loneliness inside me. I didn't even realize it was loneliness until Pushparaj just used that word. But yes, it describes it so well. You wonder, is everybody around me going along with what's going on? Am I the only one who thinks there's something wrong in this country? Where are the people who are speaking up? And finally, then why am I not speaking up? Why am I not taking a stand? And that's what led me to join the yatra. No, go ahead.
No, I don't want to hog the space here, but there's just something that struck me right now. The Sangh Parivar, the RSS, the Sangh Parivar, I hope you don't get into trouble here for me mentioning, but the genius of the Sangh Parivar is that they're very organized hatred. They're saying that we have a very set agenda, ideologically, normatively, that these are the things they believe in. But each one of you is free to start up whatever he or she feels, primarily he, that you feel furthers our ideological agenda. That's why you have this huge network, a web of organizations. What the Bharat Jodo Yatra has done in creating this movement and doing this is given people the idea that you can now join in and take up whatever idea that you feels furthers our liberal, secular, democratic values to programmatically not just further our values, our shared values, but also counter them, the right. The creation of this, I mean, originally the Congress movement, not the Congress system, from Rajni Kothari, the recreation of the Congress movement is what the Bharat Jodo Yatra has started. That you don't have to be formally part of the Congress party, but if you believe in the constitutional idea of India, each one of you is free and free to start a movement or a project that counters something, furthers our values, and we will support you. That is the true genius I feel that we are waiting to tap upon now.
You were trying to say something, yeah.
I was just adding to what Pushparaj and Dilip ji said about loneliness. As much as it was loneliness, it was also a sense of fear, right? Because dialogue and dissent, which are really critical to a well-functioning democracy, they've been suppressed for such a long time. So even though I may be feeling something, I'm not able to say it. I can't openly speak about it. And I don't know if others can and what are they thinking. So in that sense, it gave people that outlet, to come out and just speak their minds and whatever that might be. So I think along with loneliness, it was also this deep sense of fear. Is everything okay? Will everything be okay? Can I talk to someone about it? Can I share, with someone? So I think it has brought back that culture of listening to each other, So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because that aspect of adding fear, the aspect of fear, along with that sense of isolation, is important, and that kind of underscores the ethos of what this yatra stood for. This I think we have initially in the beginning of the conversation we touched upon, but I would like to go back to that the organized in quotations, the media, how media can shun and to mask the visibility, but how this process has thrashed it. You just successfully that if few groups of media decide and they can mask the visibility of a great movement, but you directly went to the people and you did not need media, that medium of the media. I would like, especially maybe Dilip can start and then
Actually, I've never fully subscribed to this idea. A lot of people say, the media is not with me and they're always covering the other side, they don't cover. Yeah, but I think that as journalists, it's my responsibility to get the story out in as interesting a way that my readers read it. So I think I think it is true that the so-called national media, I don't even want to call them journalists, the Arnab Goswamis and so on. They have chosen not to cover something like the Yatra. They've chosen to be anti that kind of movement. That's fine. But what the Yatra did was give people like me the chance to come out and tell stories. And I'm not the only one. This book is full of other people who, Darshan Mondkar became well known for his writings on the Yatra, and many others. Many people just joined and then told their story. I don't even think they thought of themselves as journalists. And those stories, some of them became viral. And, from small beginnings, by the end of the Yatra, there must have been hundreds of people writing about their experiences in the Yatra. And that's, again, a sign. Okay, forget about the national TV channels. We'll get the story out. And I think that's fundamental to journalism, that it should be like that. We should be willing to put that. If I'm not willing to put the stories out on my own, then maybe I should be doing something else, like fixing cars or something. I'm a journalist, I better get the stories out. Yeah.
If only all journalists, thought like him, India would be a very different country. But coming back to the point, one of the main reasons, also why the Yatra happened was because the mainstream media channels, they would provide no space, no coverage for anything that the Congress party did, the opposition did. So even when the Yatra started, for a very long time, there was no coverage in the mainstream media. they were not talking about it. In fact, the only kind of coverage which would happen would be a lot of fake news which was spread about the yatra, that he's not actually walking, Mr. Gandhi, he's only walking 2-3 kilometers, or he's traveling in a car, and all sorts of things. But there was never really, any discussion on the principal, opposition party and a leader walking, and this kind of a historic initiative. So as a party, then we also shifted our focus on, we leveraged the digital media platforms and, YouTube and others, and we decided to focus on that. It was only, I think, when we entered Delhi, that's when the mainstream media was forced to then, talk about it. Because meanwhile, what had happened was that because the yatra had got so much momentum and people were talking about it, a lot of journalists like him, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of alternate, media platforms, they started coming in, they joined the yatra, they started covering and they started talking to Mr. Gandhi. So it became such a talking point that by the time we entered Delhi, the mainstream media was forced to talk about it.
Would you like to add something?
So, I agree with both what Dilip ji and Ruchira ji have said. The media didn't cover, and there is this churning overall. I think we are liberal, democratic people in India now. We are the insurgency. So, in a sense, the yatra was a cultural insurgency because people started coming out of the woodwork, finding new ways to take up the yatra. But no matter how hard the media did try to blanket it out, to just whitewash it, I know for a fact that it became a talking point not just in India and outside. We had gone for the few of these party conferences somewhere. The fact that there was something called the Bharat Jodo Yatra has resonated in the minds of many parties across the world. I know for a fact that the Labour Party in UK actively considered doing a similar kind of yatra after the Leicester riots. To adopt from our peace and harmony kind of thing. Similarly, people have come out of the woodwork saying that we want to translate your book. The Marathi translation is coming out tomorrow. People are doing this in Telugu and Tamil, not because we've asked them to do it, because they're getting money. They're saying we're doing this as service to the nation. Now my point is this, the yatra has actually given the people that the idea that you can do something, as he's been saying, what do I do? And the mainstream media is now becoming a fringe player in this entire insurgency that is happening. We are in the midst of that now. And I'm going to stop here, but I do want it, in the spirit of listening, as Ruchira said, will we be taking at least few questions?
Yeah, I think we will open for Q&A from the audience. We have 7, 8 minutes, and we can take a few, I think 3 or 4 questions quickly.
Sir, I agree with you that the yatra has had a very great impact on the people of India. At least it could create, as you said, a strong opposition. But my simple question is, will this impact last till the next election? Or will there be a need for one more yatra? Okay.
I think that's a very good point that you're raising. In fact, the 2 yatras finished, and the Haryana election is sort of juxtaposing what actually happened. I don't think the onus of changing India, to reclaim India, as our book says, is entirely on the Congress party or the India parties. I think the gauntlet has now been thrown open to the people. The Congress party is willing to open itself. I'm not saying, she'll talk about how open it is, how eager it is to welcome everything. But as I said, the challenge is for each one of us to take up something. It could be as small as taking up one pamphlet or one opinion piece in a newspaper and circulating it in our WhatsApp groups where there are people. You were talking about how family groups, and especially in Kerala, I forget the word you used, but how Syrian Christians and Nayars are increasingly getting swayed by this kind of rhetoric. Maybe it could be as small as putting out articles in WhatsApp groups to counter what they are saying. It could be as big as writing books or making films or doing something more. But I think this will have to, the challenge for the Congress is to crystallize and act like a catalyst for all of us and many others to start taking up progressive values in a programmatic sense. That's my sense, would be the answer.
I just want to add to it that, Yatra at its heart is a dialogue, and that dialogue continues, whether there are elections or there are not elections. The first, when the Yatra happened, it happened during a non-election time. So in a sense, Mr. Gandhi was engaging with people not as voters, but as citizens. So, and after that, another yatra has happened. There are state-level yatras happening, and in the meantime, he's also continuing to interact with people from all sections of society. So that dialogue, that learning, that continues, and elections are completely different, right? I know this question comes because it's a political party which is involved, and we talk about elections, but democracy is not just about elections also. It's about having that space and opportunity for deliberations and consultations.
Again, just to expand on that, I mean, I think the challenge is not so much the next election, but the challenge is in our mindsets. There's too many minds that have, think hateful things, and I think it's important for all of us who feel like we can do something about that to get out and do it, and that's what the challenge is. That is what democracy is about. So.
Good morning. Having listened to the entire thing, I agree. And we can see that there's a lot of the leadership interaction to the people. I mean, they come down, straight down to the people, talk, understand. But probably as being a part of a journalism student or whatever, why not? Why not get into social media a little more? Might not be, I don't see the party as such being very active through social media. We are on the grounds, definitely we believe working on the ground, but why not use the pros of the social media and social media in the sense digital media to get in straight to the hearts a little more. I mean, do you think so?
I disagree with that in the sense that I'm not saying it's perfect. There's always scope for improvement, and we can always do better. But as I had said that the first yatra, it was primarily digital. We had no other ways of reaching out to people or covering the yatra or publicizing it. So all the yatra, like from early in the morning to like end of the day, everything was covered on digital platforms. You could see live streaming of it, and digital is where we really took to, and I mean that's what we did, and that's what we have continued to do. And of course, we can do more, but I think we're already like very, very focused on digital.
Can I just pitch in very quickly? Just the earlier point, I know I'm sort of belaboring the point, but see, I don't think that the onus of fighting or nurturing a constitutional consciousness is entirely on the party, organized political system. I think it's on all of us. We are all plugged into each one of our systems. In the I'm a student of history. In Independence India, during the freedom struggle, you had ordinary people picketing alcohol shops and wearing khadi. Not that Gandhiji told them ki aiye wear khadi and do it. They were doing it at their own level.
True.
My point is each one of us is plugged into one of these WhatsApp groups. At least 4 or 5 WhatsApp group, our family or school or college, whatever, right? That itself is a way we can start. The only thing we need to do is be connected to that shared value. That's all.
Precisely. Probably that's where even I wanted to pitch in, because I just thought that we can expand our use of the show. Like we see all the other parties plus or minus being very, very active on the digital platforms. So probably a little more onto that side. Thank you.
I think we can wind up the session and move forward for the next session, a much anticipated one also. Before winding up, I would like to add, I'd like to say that 30 odd years ago there was another yatra happened in the country, and we have seen the repercussions of that yatra, and I hope that Bharat Jodo Yatra, as Ruchira said, it's a dialogue. More than a yatra, it's a dialogue, and that dialogue continues, and the repercussions of Bharat Jodo Yatra continues, and make the positive impact, unlike the other one, happened.
You mean that
30
Rot Yatra, right? I like to call it a Rot Yatra. R-O-T, but anyway.
Yeah, the point taken. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to close this session with that remark that I hope that we all hope that those who believe in the democratic and constitutional values believe that this dialogue is ongoing and it will have positive repercussions in our lives and the country. Thank you, Dilip, for joining us, discussant, and also when I suggested this idea of why don't we club together these two books, which is on the Yatra, and agreeing for that, Pushparaj and Ruchira. Thank you so much for joining with us at Hortus, and also Dilip has been an active participant as an audience all these days, and thank you so much for that. Presence of Dilip, people like Dilip are important for a festival like this, and I really value that, and thank you for coming down, both of you, even amidst your responsible organizational responsibilities. Thank you so much.